Hi guys, this is Fernando for the Modern Survivalists doing part 2 of the video of 5 most underrated survival skills for preppers and survivalists. If you're just checking in, go back and look for part 1 of these videos where we talked about a couple of these, and I'm gonna continue with the making money topic that was not finished in the previous one. As I was saying before, very important skill to have, so underrated, especially by survivalists that seem to think and in some way hope that rich people do not so good after the economy collapses. Well, those folks, they know something, they have a skill, they have an ability to make money, even if they don't have as many guns as you do, if they don't have as many prepper gear as you do, if they're not survivalists, hardcore, they don't have their bunker, they don't have their garden, they don't have their own, they don't grow their own food. But if you know how to make money, you can get all of that sooner or later. So yeah, complaining about those rich folks that are so stupid. I have my garden, and these rich guys, they don't have anything, they don't grow their own food. Well, but they make money, and money is important, and it's a valuable skill to have. And if I would have to choose between being able to have tons of stuff, being able to grow my own food, or being able to make money, give me money every day, because with money you get around. Even if the economy is collapsing, there's some form of currency, there's some form of economic exchange among people, so that's what you're going to be acquiring, and that will make you able to get whatever it is you need. There was this guy that I talked with, just I think it was 2003 or something like that. Things were still very, people weren't spending a single buck. It was very hard, because when people see that their purchasing value of their money is disappearing, they become like crazy. And you don't want to spend anything, because you need what little money you have to survive. And it is a tough situation. It is a tough market to understand. This guy, he was telling me that he was his father, he had a used car business. He sold used cars, bought them and sold them, and he was doing okay, because he was good at it, and when you're good at something, you generally do okay. So this guy did just that. He bought and sold cars. Now his son, he told me that he was going to be starting a business selling cell phones in some of the poorest parts of Buenos Aires. That was his bright idea, his genius idea. Put small kiosks in different parts of the city. Start with a couple, and then as things went well, he would start more and sell cell phones in a post-collapse economy. You may be thinking right now, that sounds extremely stupid, but you know what? This guy did very well. He ended up doing very well for himself, and today he has a good income. He's doing nicely. He's high middle class, I'd say even rich. He's doing very well with his cell phone business. And you may think, how is it possible that a guy does well selling cell phones in poor parts of town after the economy collapses? People are not going to be buying cell phones. Well, actually they are, because there's a factor this guy saw that at the time I didn't, and now I understand it. This person had good social skills and good social understanding. We're going to be getting to this in a second, but I want to explain how this relates to making money. This person understood that in spite of the economy being collapsed and people having almost no money, even poor people would be buying cell phones and such. Just think about it for a second, and think about how even in today's USA, and at least until very recently, many Americans told me about poor people driving fancy cars they probably couldn't afford, but they got them nonetheless because of loans. Because you had poor people getting into debt or spending money on cars, fancy cars. Well, it's the same thing here. The thing is, the poor Argentine person cannot afford a car. He hasn't got the money for it, and he hasn't got the loans for it either, so he's not going to be loaning money to get a fancy car, but he can afford a fancy little cell phone, or a nice little cell phone. And as stupid as that may sound, I wouldn't spend money I don't have, or the little money I have, on a cell phone. If I don't have much money, I'm not going to be spending it on a cell phone. But the thing is, it's not about me, or it's not even about you. It's about what the majority of people, what the mass of people would do how the mass reacts in these situations. And the truth is that when there's so much poverty, people need something, a level of comfort, something that makes them feel good about themselves. And at least here and in many third world countries, having a little fancy cell phone, or at least one that looks good, brings that level of comfort and that level of satisfaction to the people. So that's why you have people that live in shanty towns, live in squatter land, in in shacks made of pieces of plywood that are just like three meters by two. Like these are total shacks, and you have the people living in them, spending money on a fancy cell phone. And as stupid as that is, that's what actually happened, and that's why this person ended up making good money, because he understood this and sold lots of cell phones in these poor neighborhoods. And that's admirable. At least for me, it's admirable to be able to understand what's going to be happening and how people react. And that brings us to social skills and people skills. Being able to talk with people, even people that are different from you, they're from a different background, they come from a different place. Being able to talk and interact with just absolutely everyone. Because it's important, because you're going to be relying on others as things get worse. You're going to be needing help. You're going to be needing that social interaction. It's important for business. It's important to have your neighbors, your friends help you out, and you helping them when it is that you can't do it, giving and receiving. If you have no social skills, you just will not do well after an economic collapse. I can guarantee you that. You need to have some level of social skills. It's not easy, especially for survival-minded folks that are very independent. It's not easy, but it's something you have to develop and work on, because it is very important. This also goes for haggling and working out businesses with folks, with other people, arranging deals that are beneficial for yourself and for the other person as well. But all these skills, the social skills are of so much importance that I just cannot emphasize it enough. Also, in at least in my opinion, people skills also includes your family and the way you interact with your wife, your kids. That's also something that is of huge importance, because you want a tight family group. You want a solid family during times like these. I mean, you're seeing it today, people losing their homes. And I mean, if you lose your house right now, if you lose everything you have right now, who are you going to be counting on? I mean, you probably have good friends, that's social skills as well, but most likely you're going to be going to some family member. Most people, when something like this happens, they end up going to a family member, a brother, your parents, someone that helps you out. So it's important to work on that. Sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes it's not easy to get along with your folks, with your parents, with your brothers, sisters. It's not easy, not at all. But you have to make the effort. And if this is something that you already have, if you have a good family, you're close one another, and I mean, that's great. That's a huge advantage you have, even if you don't realize it right now. But it is indeed a huge advantage. And I'm talking to those of you that don't have it, that have lost contact with your family. You really have to work on that, because family blood, it's the one thing people usually count on, and you will need all that help. And even if you don't, you never know the future. You never know what's waiting for you. You never know what will eventually happen to you. So also, for in your immediate family, your wife, your kids, that's your safety net. That's your refugee from all the crap that is going to be going on. So that's the people you will be counting on. Your wife, that's the person you're going to be talking to. That's the person that's going to be comforting you when all the stuff that's going on affects you. If you don't have someone like that, it's very hard to do all this on your own. Okay, so for so many reasons, it's important to have a tight family, a close family. Okay, your kids, they're going to be needing you as a parent. They're going to be needing some guidance on a future that's not going to be exactly Little House on the Prairie, where kids are all healthy and they don't do drugs, they don't get pregnant at age 13. that crap is going to be happening much worse than it's happening right now. So your kids need guidance from you as a parent. Okay, you have to get rid of all your weaknesses in terms of if you drink, smoking, if you do drugs, all that stuff. All those are weaknesses in your character and in your family group as well. You have to get rid of those right now, because things are only going to get tougher in the future. I mean, that's the way it's going to be. And every single weakness you have now, it's going to be cracking in the future. It's going to be breaking you as a person, and you as a family group. It's going to be making small cracks and getting worse as time goes by. Self-development and the ability to cope and overcome. Again, one relates with the other. You see how we're talking about family, about being strong, and this would be the same thing, but on a more personal level, on a more emotional level, on yourself. This is something that unfortunately you don't see much these days. You don't see much, especially in first world countries. You see people that have been spoiled in many ways, that are being used to things working on their own. You know what I mean? People that are used to the system and the social system they live in working, even though they may not develop skills themselves, even they don't develop the ability to cope themselves. They just pick a cell phone and someone comes and changes your tire, as Lord Humongous said in his own video. And you have to be able to cope with your problems and overcome them. You're not a genius. You don't have all the skills, and no one has them. I mean, no one has all the possible skills a person could have. No one has everything served. But if you have the ability to sit down for a second and think about what's going on, how you can cope with those problems. I think it's also something that Jeff Cooper said once. A young man should be able to cope. I think he was telling how when he first started driving, he had to change a flat tire himself, and he had never done it before, but he figured it out nonetheless and just did it. Not complaining, understanding that things aren't always easy, not getting hysterical over things. Something that a lot of people just don't have, even if they think they do. Just as soon as they see a little bit of problem, they freak out like hysterically. That's not something that you should want. And also within this fifth group, I would include the ability to have a good sense of humor and the ability of not getting depressed by everything that's going on, because it's so easy. If you were of the doom and gloom worshipping type of folk before things were getting bad, you don't want to be that kind of person in the future. You don't want to be a person that is easily depressed, that likes to complain about everything and only sees the glass half empty all the time. You don't want to be that kind of person when things get tough, because all of that, it's just going to be getting worse. All of that is just going to be getting worse in the future as the economy gets falling as it is right now, as it is worldwide, because this isn't just something that's going on in USA. It's going on in Spain, in Portugal. It happened in Greece, Ireland. I mean, it's a world situation that it's affecting people that used to be accustomed to something very different. And well, guys, that's my little list of the 5 most underrated survival skills for preppers and survivalists. Hope you had a good time. You have some food for thought with all this. And as always, I invite you to themodernsurvivalist.com, which is my website, and post almost on daily basis. And there's also forums for discussions and all that sort of stuff. You could even discuss this same video in the forum over at the Modern Survivalist. So guys, see you on our next video. Thanks Lord Humongous for the invitation, and take care.